Hi, welcome to History 1301, U.S. History up to 1877. My name is Alfonso R. Lopez, and I will be your instructor for this class this semester, fall 2021. All right, so in this class introduction video presentation, uh, what we're going to do is go over the syllabus. So this is a very important component of class meetings. Is considered to be the very first of the class meetings in which if you were to take this class, let's say face to face, this is when you're going to meet the instructor. The instructor is going to talk about the class, pretty much go over the syllabus and indicate what are the course requirements in terms of textbooks, for example, the method of instruction, how lectures are going to be presented and delivered, what kind of exams are going to be during the semester, what exams are going to be like, how many exams, how you can prepare for those exams as well. This is when you're also going to learn about term papers or reports, course assignments in general, and how to do them. What are the guidelines to do those assignments and such. What is the grade distribution, for all the tests, for all the assignments of the course, and when are the tentative dates as well, when you're supposed to be either taking exams or turning in assignments, when the final is going to be, and the like. Again, so consider this to be the very first day of class. It's very, very important because this is where you're going to actually learn about what the class is going to be about and how to excel as well, how to prepare for the exams, for the assignments, and how to actually excel in this course. Okay, so in order to do that, we're going to have to now turn our attention to Blackboard, because Blackboard is going to be the main platform that we're going to use for this class across the semester. This is where instruction is going to be presented and delivered. This is where you're going to find all the requirements, the assignments, the instructions for the exams, and also for submitting those works. Again, you submit all works on Blackboard as well. So we have to now turn our attention to Blackboard in order to begin this class introduction. And let us start with going over, let's see, opening the Blackboard page. Now, let us find the Blackboard page, okay, for this class. Which, by the way, I should say that this class introduction is for History 1301, and since I'm actually teaching four different sections of 1301, so this class introduction is going to be good for History 1301, section 078, 1301, section 079, 1301, section 081, and 1301, 086. So again, if you're enrolled in any of those sections, is identical, the syllabus, that is to say. Okay, the Blackboard page is identical as well. Okay, so let us just open one of those sections, and you're going to see to the left, of course, there's a blue column, again, to the left, in which you're going to find the main links to the course requirements, the course content, the main components of this course. And what I've done is that I've placed the most important links at the very top. For example, class introduction. You're going to see here, of course, at the very, very top, a link that is titled Class Introduction. And there, this is where we're going to actually post this particular video that I'm recording right now. This is where we're going to actually find out. Again, you're going to locate this video there. And of course, if I'm going to present other videos for, let's say, an orientation for the first exam or second exam or final exam, I'm going to post them there as well. I'll send you an announcement, of course, indicating that those videos are there anyways. Okay, so just second to that link, we're going to see syllabus, the link titled syllabus. And when you click there on the syllabus, you are going to actually open up the syllabus page. So what I've done is that instead of just creating a link to the file, let's say a Word doc file, so you can actually open it and such, I've created a whole page in which I posted the entire syllabus there. Okay. If you want also access to the Word doc, you can find that under instructional materials. If you click on instructional materials, you're going to find, again, the actual Word doc file. If you want to print it or keep it handy, save it again in your computer, that's fine, but it's on Blackboard. Anyways, so let's go over the syllabus from the top, so we can start now breaking down the components of the course. I highly recommend, again, that you will go over the syllabus, but most importantly, that you go over this particular video presentation, because this is going to be critical, essential for understanding the course and how to navigate this course on Blackboard, how to actually receive the instruction week by week and prepare for the exams. Again, so it's very, very critical that you watch this video entirely. Okay, so let's go over the syllabus. So this is, again, U.S. History 1301. I'm teaching 4 sections again, the ones I already mentioned a moment ago. This is U.S. History up to 1877, which is the end of Reconstruction. This is the fall semester 2021. My name is Alfonso R. Lopez. I will be your instructor for this class this semester. The fastest way to reach me is via email. Okay. So if you have any doubt, concern, questions regarding the class, please email me at alfonso.lopez@austincc.edu. I'm checking my emails several times a day, so more than likely you will receive a response within a 24-hour period, before the end of the day, or if you send the email quite late, the following day you'll receive a response. Okay. And our class meetings, of course, this is an online asynchronous class, so we don't have designated class meetings. I'll explain how this is going to work out in just a few minutes once we get to that section in terms of the format of instruction. But again, this is asynchronous, so there's no designated class meetings. Now, before we get into now the specifics of the course, please be advised that for communication purposes, if you need to contact me, do so by using your ACC email account. I mean, this is the ACC policy, is that all electronic communication between faculty and students must take place through the ACC resources, in this case, email. Okay, so if you happen to send me an email through your private email account, what I'll do is that I'll respond to you by looking at your ACC account, and I'll respond to that account, to the college, again, email account, again, not the private. Okay, so this is very important. So if you want a prompt response, it's easier, again, so for you to just use your college email account for all communication purposes, and that's going to be the easiest and fastest way to communicate. Okay, receive a response, a prompt response. That is okay. So now, in terms of textbooks, what we're going to be doing, this semester is not necessarily relying or requiring a textbook per se, in which you have to be following, up with the lectures by reading certain chapters and extracting information from the text and such, the conventional way, again, that is done. What we're going to do instead is actually requiring only a supplemental text to the actual textbook, that we're not going to be using a textbook, but along with the textbook, comes a supplemental text. It's a very thin text, and this is the only one that we're going to be using. It's titled Reading American Horizons, Primary Sources for U.S. History in a Global Context, Volume 1. So this is 1301, so we're using Volume 1. And this is the 4th edition, okay? The 4th edition, okay? That was published in 2020, okay? If you have trouble locating, you shouldn't have any problems locating this book, because as far as I know, it's available, is offered at the ACC bookstores. It should be there. I received confirmation. It should be there. But if you just want to make sure you're getting the exact textbook that is required for this class, the 4th edition, I provided, of course, the ISBN number there as well, is written, as well there. So you get the exact, edition, the exact text, that is required. Retail price is $20, $19 with 94 cents. So new. I mean, more than likely you'll find some used versions at the bookstore for much less. So this is the only financial investment you're going to make in this class in terms of textbooks. Okay, so I'll explain why you're going to need this, but again, this is not really a conventional text that you can read from page to from cover to cover, because this is not really a book written about history. This is a collection of documents written by the historical actors themselves, okay, like letters, memoirs, laws, speeches, and so on, that were crafted or pronounced by important, very famous historical actors that contributed to making the nation, in one way or another. So I'll explain what, you're going to need this textbook. But again, this is just for an assignment, actually, it's to complete a course assignment that is due at the end of the semester, towards late November. Okay. So, that's in terms of required textbooks that is concerned. Again, this is the only requirement. Okay, so let's look at the format, of this course. And the format is online asynchronous format. Okay, which means that this course will be delivered fully online with no designated class meetings for real-time instructor/student interaction. So again, we're not going to be, meeting on specific days and times again. So this is totally, a very flexible format in which the instructor, is going to be presenting or posting the lectures on Blackboard, and you're supposed to, week by week, be watching those lectures in your own schedule, at your own convenience, and take notes again. So they're going to be lectures. I'm going to actually explain that in a few moments. But the main, method of instruction is, again, lecture. I'm going to be lecturing, posting those lectures on Blackboard, just like this presentation is identical. The lectures are identical in that I'm going to record my lectures and post them on Blackboard, and you're supposed to be watching them again in your own schedule. If you have any questions regarding the class content, the lecture material, exam dates, grades and such, contact me once again via email. Okay, that's how I'm going to actually provide guidance, orientation, advice, and so on. Okay, via email. And there are, of course, resources at HCC that you can request regarding, for example, technical assistance for navigating, for example, Blackboard. If you have trouble navigating Blackboard, identifying the main components, uploading exams or assignments, you have trouble with that, or accessing Wi-Fi, there are, of course, at ACC places, departments that can help you with technology support, access to internet, and such. Okay, there's plenty of support provided by ACC. Okay, so now let's look at the course description. What the course is going to be about, in other words. Okay, what this course is going to be about. That's the course description. What are we going to cover? Okay, before we get into the exams and the assignments, I would like to pretty much at this point offer you a quick synthesis, a quick overview of what this course is going to be about. Okay, what kind of themes or topics we're going to cover across the semester. So this is U.S. History 1301, which means this is the first half of U.S. history. That is going to venture from the ancient world, okay, the world that was inhabited, for example, by the indigenous peoples of America. So we have to start there. Our story is going to start in the ancient world by looking at the Native American groups that inhabited the continent, looking at the major civilizations that flourished in this continent, and looking at the major groups that are going to be positioned in North America that will have, of course, interaction with, later on, the European colonists, the European settlers that are going to be arriving to North America by the 15 and 1600s. Okay, so we have to start there. We have to look at the ancient world, looking at Native American history, culture, and religion, the formation of the different civilizations, their major contributions to knowledge systems, what their cultures were like, their religions were like, and so on, looking at that, and after we do that, our story is also going to shift attention to the ancient world, but in Europe, because the formation of the United States begins by the encounters, if you will, of two major civilizations. It begins there. There were not only two major civilizations that forged the United States, but it started there. And those two major civilizations was, on one hand, the Native Americans, the original peoples, again, of the American continent, particularly North America. And the second civilization is the European civilization. At some point, there will be contact encounters, if you will, between those two distinct civilizations. And out of those encounters, of course, there's going to be a story, again, that is going to be essential for the formation of the United States. Okay, so what that means is that our course is also going to look at Europe. We're not going to present an exhaustive, analysis of European history, but just, identifying, once again, the major civilizations of Europe that gave rise to European civilization at large, which means we have to just understand, for example, in very, very general terms, the formation of Greece, of the Greek cities, and later on Rome, and just understanding their contributions for the development of Europe. In other words, very general. Again, this is not exhaustive, but we have to start there. And we also have to look at how Europe by the 12 and 1300s, is going to initiate a new era that is known in world history as the Age of Discovery. Okay, the Age of Discovery. This is an age that uh, propelled Europeans to start stepping outside of their own continent, to start exploring the world around them, start mapping the world. In other words, the age of exploration, the age of discovery, which was largely inspired by the rise of international trade. Okay, it was really trade that pushed Europeans out of Europe to start discovering the world. In other words, the commercial exchange of merchandise, precious goods, that got initiated by a European, by the way, Marco Polo, in the late 1200s AD. And we see the beginning of long distance trade, trading routes, world trade routes, if you will, or global trade routes, that connected the different continents of the old world, connected Europe with the Middle East, and at the same time connected Europe, the Middle East with Asia. Okay, we see the flow of goods across the old world, and of course, Europeans felt the need to accelerate the pace of trade by perhaps uh, developing new technologies that will enable them to actually bring much, much faster merchandise from faraway places. And that led the Europeans to begin, of course, investing and developing navigation technologies, building larger ships, better vessels to bring cargo, in other words. So again, they're also using their ships to navigate the world around them, the Atlantic Ocean, in search for trade routes, which actually led to the discovery of America in 1492 by Columbus. Columbus was looking for a trade route to tap into the spices and silks um, of Asia, and the gold as well of Asia. Um, and he, by accident, if you will, arrived to America in 1492. So again, the age of discovery. Europeans are going to initiate that era, by pretty much navigating the world, pretty much, and making new discoveries, if you will. So uh, that, of course, great discovery by Columbus is going to lead to early settlements, if you will, by Europeans on the Americas. They're going to discover new peoples. They're going to discover the Native Americans. The Native Americans are going to discover the Europeans. There's going to be an encounter of the peoples of the world through those discoveries, of course. And we're going to look at settlements, colonization, and the like, how Europeans are beginning to arrive in great numbers by the 1500s and establishing trade routes, trading outposts at first in the Americas, but eventually they're going to be establishing colonies, okay, a series of colonies. Spain was first doing this in the 1500s, followed by the Portuguese, then followed by the French, Dutch, and British in North America as well, establishing, a series of colonial outposts and colonies in general. Okay, so we looked at, the process of colonization. We look at international trade. We look at, economics, for example, driving Europeans to discover the world as it was, making new discoveries and eventually colonizing America, of course. Um, so we look at that. And of course, now we look into the colonial period, and we look at the formation of colonial societies, how England is going to, by the 1600s, establish a series of colonies in North America, 13 colonies. We look at economic factors, we look at religious factors, okay, that push Europeans out of Europe to come to America and establish those colonies, particularly, again, England, establishing their colonies in North America. And we look at the formation, again, of those colonies from 1607, 1609, when they started arriving at Jamestown, Virginia, all the way to the early 1700s, again, when the British were continuing to send people over, immigrant groups, peasants and farmers and so on, to North America. We see that. Okay, immigration. We're going to look at immigration. What groups came from Europe? Okay, it's going to be British people, but there's also going to be significant amount of people coming from Germany. German immigrants, Scottish immigrants, Irish immigrants coming to North America. We're also going to pay attention to another factor, and that is another civilization that was involved in the formation of the United States, and that is Africa. Okay, because there will be significant amount of people also coming into the British colonies, particularly the southern colonies, coming from Africa. Okay, through a process otherwise known by historians as the African slave trade. Okay, so the need for the British to grow certain cash crops like tobacco, rice, sugar, and cotton in their American colonies led the British and other Europeans, again, as well, to tap into a slave trade that already existed in Africa, by the way, for thousands of years. Slave markets existed in Africa for thousands of years. And so they tapped into this market, this trade, already existing in Africa, in order to bring, of course, labor, okay, into their American colonies. Okay, so we're going to see the influx of African slaves coming into the British colonies. There were about 500,000, again, African slaves that entered the British colonies of North America. And we're going to look at that again, how we're going to see the formation of slave colonies, for example, in the South, the southern slave colonies like Virginia, the Carolinas, and Georgia. Okay, and the formation of slavery in those colonies as well, the institution of slavery, and so on. What was the life of slavery like? What was the slaves like, and so on and so forth. We're going to look at that as well. We're also going to look at interaction between the European settlers in the British colonies and Native American groups. We're also going to analyze that as well. Okay. And at the end of the colonial period, we're going to see, of course, the movement for independence. Okay. We're going to devote a whole topic to look at the American Revolution, and that started in 1776, when the 13 colonies came together to declare independence and gained their independence in 1783. We're going to actually assess that as well. Okay. Now, after independence was finally recognized in 1783, we're going to now proceed with looking at the national period. So 1301 looks at the initial decades of nationhood. Okay, our story is going to stop in 1877, so we're not going to actually cover the entire national period up to the present day, of course. It stops in 1877, so it's, give and take about 80 years, a little bit more, worth of history. Because our story is going to look at the formation of the United States through first the Articles of Confederation. That was the first constitution that attempted to create a country after independence, which was actually eventually replaced by a second constitution written in 1787. So the Articles of Confederation was the first constitution that created an experiment, a country, a democracy that was written with a lot of problems, which eventually was replaced by the Constitution of 1787, which created a republic. We're going to see that. The formation of the American Republic, what kind of ideas were used to create the Constitution of 1787 by the founders, and some of the problems that the country faced initially, as it was born. We're going to see some of the challenges of the American Republic as well. In the national period, we're also going to look at very important events that really had the greatest impact, transformative effects, if you will, in the life of Americans, shaping, of course, the way people lived and did work, and so on. For example, we're going to devote a great deal of attention to the Industrial Revolution, the beginning of industrialization in the United States, particularly, again, in areas like the Northeast. The Northeast begins the process of uh, industrialization, building factories and industries, you know, and later on, the northern states are going to develop railroads, you know, uh, railroad development and canal construction as well for navigation systems. This is happening particularly in the north. The north is industrializing and giving rise to a new economy called an industrial capitalist economy, in which the way people produce everything that it is needed in society is by manufacturing. Okay, the process of building factories or industrial plants and manufacturing those through technologies and hiring people for wages. That the people that are working in those places are hired for wages, wage labor. The South, however, is going to lag behind. Our story is going to explain that how the South did not industrialize, did not modernize their economy, but rather stayed with their old system of agricultural production, crop production, particularly cotton, through the use of slavery, okay, fundamental to the Southern economy. And so we're going to see a division in the United States in which the northern states are moving in one direction towards industry and capitalism and wage labor, and the South is pretty much staying in the same path of agriculture, cotton agriculture, and slave labor. Okay, so eventually, of course, this is going to create a rupture in the country by 1860. Okay, that divided the country politically and economically to the point that the South in 1860 left the Union. Okay, after the election of President Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, in 1860, and an election that precipitated the South, the secession of the South from the Union, and precipitated the Civil War, of course. So we're going to assess at the very end of the course the Civil War and Reconstruction process as well. Okay, so this is, again, the course description. Of course, there will be plenty of detail as we move along. This storyline, again, is going to be significant detail and analysis to understand, again, this story that I just condensed in several minutes. Okay, now, this material is going to be presented to you, the mode of learning. Again, how are you going to learn this material? Okay, it's going to be presented to you through a series of video lectures. Okay, so what I've done is that I've recorded all of my lectures, all of them. Okay, they're already even, posted on Blackboard. You can go to Blackboard and actually start watching them. So the way they're recorded is by using the same program, the same application I'm using right now. Okay, it's identical, the experience. I will be lecturing and I'll be showing an outline to you. Okay, the lecture outlines, that is to say. Okay, so if we could just go to that part of Blackboard so you can identify, so where are those lectures? Those lectures are found here under course content. This says instructional materials, instruction, the materials of instruction. You click on it and it's going to open, and you're going to see two main folders. One folder is titled Recorded Video Lectures. You click on it, okay, and there's going to be 9 folders because all of my lectures are divided by topic. They're organized around topics. It's thematic, in other words. So the lectures are not just given randomly and I'm just going year by year what's going on, in history, but rather what I've done is that, look, it's better to learn this material if we just concentrate on a specific theme or topic. Let us just say Native American history, culture, and religion. We start our story with the Native Americans, as I mentioned. So In this folder, if you click on it, you're going to find 3 videos or 3 lectures. And they span about an hour and 15 minutes. Some of them might be a little bit longer, like an hour and 20 minutes or so. Okay. It's almost like a class. If you're going to be going to campus, taking a class for an hour and 20 minutes, it's the same thing. Again, so there are 3 sessions or 3 lectures, if you will, on Native American history, culture, and religion. So your responsibility then is to watch those lectures on a timely fashion. Every week you should be watching 2 videos per week. 2 videos per week. Okay. And the videos that you're supposed to be watching, I will be sending the announcement. In other words, I will send an email announcement every Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday, indicating that you should be already watching this particular video, and so on. It's almost like this is the class that you're supposed to take now. Now, of course, you might say, okay, look, I'm not going to have time to watch it on Monday. I probably going to watch this class tomorrow, Tuesday or whatever. That's fine. But as long as you're watching 2 videos per week, you're going to be fine. I highly recommend that you don't procrastinate watching those videos, because you're going to be accumulating a lot of class material that if you leave everything for, let's say, the end, when we're going to have, let's say, the first exam, we're going to have the first exam, at the end of September, early October, and then you're going to have a few days to watch everything. It's not very practical. So I highly advise you to be just disciplined to watch 2 videos per week. That will be an acceptable, a reasonable rhythm and pace, if you will. Okay. Your responsibility is to take notes as thoroughly as possible. Okay. Because all of the material that you gather from those lectures is going to be covered on the exam. 100%. Okay. So the exams are based on the lectures exclusively. So you don't need to be reading articles or books, nothing of that. Again, it's just, all of the questions and the key terms that you're going to see on the exam, they're from the class meetings, those recorded video lectures, that is to say. Okay. So this is how you're going to be learning. In other words, how you're going to be learning is, 2 videos per week. I'll be sending you the announcement, just indicating which ones you're supposed to be watching already, and that's it. Okay. Before the exam comes along, I'll send you an announcement saying, look, next week we're going to have the exam. You better start preparing and such, So, this is how we're going to be learning. Now, we're going to get there, once we get to the exam section, I'll explain how the exams are going to be structured. But as for now, just understand that here, under instructional materials, you're going to see, again, 9 folders. Those are the 9 topics we're going to cover across the semester. And each topic has 3 videos, each one of them. Okay. Each one of those topics have 3 videos. So when you're through, watching those videos, let's say when you reach the 3rd session and you finish watching the Native American history, culture, and religion, there you'll see that there will be a series of questions. Again, those are the study questions. They're study. Those are for you to study. What I'm actually saying here is that, look, once we conclude a topic, then I'll tell you, look, now that I've lectured for 3 videos about Native Americans, what you're supposed to be studying for the exam, when the exam comes along, it particularly those questions right here, like 3 or 4 questions. Okay, they're already framed. If you're having, difficulty locating um, the specific, questions. If you want to have access to the outlines and the questions for each topic, because you're studying and so on and so forth, you go under instructional materials. Once again, you click on it, and there's going to be a folder that is titled Lecture Outlines and Questions. You click on it, and what you're going to see is, once again, 9 files. You're going to say, what are those files like? What are they? What those files are the actual outlines you're going to be seeing on the screen. So as I'm lecturing, you're going to be looking at, an outline, and so by looking at the outline, you're able to identify which topic we're in and all of the bullet points. So if I'm mentioning certain ideas or theories or naming places or people, again, there is an organization. I'm actually listing the most important points. That's the outline, again, of each topic as I'm lecturing. So you have the ability, again, you're going to have the ability to be listening to the information, taking notes, and also just writing down, the key ideas that I'm actually talking about. There's going to be maps and graphs and sometimes, but mainly it's pictures, and maps and bullet points and so on. And at the very end of each outline, you're going to see the study questions, okay, that you're supposed to study once again. So at the very end of each outline, at the very end of the document, you're going to see the questions. Okay, let me see if I can actually put it on the screen here. I'll do my best. I'm working with this. Let me see. Let me see. All right. So just for you to have, an idea. Okay. I believe it's already there. Let me see. All right. Okay. So this is the outline. This is the way you're going to actually see it every time I'm actually lecturing again on those topics. So, so you're going to see again 1301 U.S. history, Native American history, culture, and religion up to 1492. This is the title of the first topic. And so from there, I'm going to start explaining, the topic, the general overview about Native Americans, and I have maps and such. You can see subtitles, headings, bullet points, and more maps about the cultural regions and so on. Looking at the main parts of the topic, like the origins of the Native American peoples, the stages of development, when we talk about their stages of historical development, like the Stone Age, all their features, looking at the age of horticulture, early farming, I'll be lecturing, explaining each one of those components, the agricultural age, for example, the age of agriculture, and, looking at the flourishing of the highly advanced civilizations of the Americas, just identifying the major civilizations, for example, okay, that flourished in the Americas. And at the very end, we look at the collapse, the collapse of those civilizations, of those major civilizations, okay? And once we're through with those civilizations, and where we're through with this topic, this is towards the end of session 3, you're going to see that there are a series of study questions. This is for you to know what to study for. In other words, look, he lectured about all of this, but what am I supposed to actually study for when the exam comes? Well, this is where you're supposed to study. Those are the exact same questions that will appear on the exam when the exam comes along. Okay? So I'm actually giving access to my outlines. I'm actually telling you in advance the questions, so you're very well prepared, in other words. Okay. Um, Now let's return to our slide here. Okay. Let me see. Going to Blackboard once again. Okay. Okay. So we're in Blackboard once again. All right. So again, those are instructional materials. One folder contains all of the video lectures, the recorded video lectures. They're divided by topic, by theme. There's 9, 3 videos each. And this is going to be pretty much the method of instruction. You're supposed to be watching 2 per week. You can watch more if you want, of course, if you have the time. But 2 per week will be, proper. Okay. So again, this is the way they're going to be subdivided, again, by historical periods, or there's going to be 3 parts, 3 historical areas, the ancient world to the age of discovery. There will be 3 topics contained there. Okay. And once we finish 3 topics, there's going to be an exam. Okay. We have an exam every time we cover 3 topics. It takes about 5 weeks or so to cover those 3 topics. Okay. Thereabouts. So once we cover that, now we go into part 2, into the colonial period. We watch 3 topics. We cover 3 topics in another 4 or 5 weeks. We have another exam, the second exam, over those topics. And then the final part 3, we'll cover the national period up to the Civil War. And we're going to cover 3 topics. Okay. And then we're going to have the final exam. Now, the final exam is only going to be, based on the last 3 topics. It's not going to be comprehensive. Okay. It's only going to focus on the last 3 topics. Okay. So now the exams, this is the part we're going to actually just, hear about the exams, what the exams are going to be like and such. Okay. So there will be 3 exams. I just explained. There are 3 parts. So therefore, there will be 3 exams. Exam 1, 2, and final. Okay. First, second, and final. Okay. Each exam is going to be worth 25% of the final grade, 25% each exam. Okay. Now, the format of the exam is that, first and foremost, again, those exams are not going to have any multiple choice. There will be no fill in the blank or, any of that. It's mainly, exams based on answering questions and identifying and describing very fully some key terms. Okay. So that's how the exams are going to be like. That's the format. So they're not essay, it's not like writing an essay like in English class or anything like that. Okay. You have to have the structure of topic paragraph and thesis statement and arguments. It's not like that. So what it is, so I'm lecturing about, for example, Native Americans, at the very beginning. So I just show you how there's going to be a series of questions presented for each topic. There's a certain questions that you have to study for Native Americans, history, culture, and religion. So the day of the exam, what you're supposed to do is answering the questions of one topic, just one topic alone. Let's say Native American, history, culture, and religion. And that's for 70 points. That's part 1. Part 1 is answering the questions on one topic and answering the key terms from another topic, a separate topic. Okay. For 30 points, a couple of key terms. I'll give you like a set of 5, and those 5, you look at them and you select 2 key terms, and you're supposed to, elaborate in depth what those key terms are. Okay. So that's what it is. Again, it's a writing exercise. They're not going to be timed. They're not going to be designated to take place on specific days and times. I'll give you a few days for you to complete it in your own schedule. So I'll send you the instructions. Look, this is the exam, and you're supposed to pick one topic out of two and answer all of the questions on that topic and for 70 points. And part two, you're supposed to pick two key terms from a set of 5 for 30 points. Okay? And the idea is that you have to answer the questions and the key terms as fully as possible by using 100% exclusively the information presented on the video lectures and nothing else. Okay? Nothing else. So if I start reading in your answers information I did not present, something that you gathered from some outside source, whatever the source might be, your work will be disqualified. So how you're going to prepare for those exams is just concentrating on the lecture material, gathering all of the notes that you can, okay, and using that material to answer the questions of the topic and the key terms from another topic. That's pretty much, your mission in this case. Okay, don't include any other material from articles or websites or encyclopedias, because as soon as I start reading that information, your work will suffer. Point deduction depending on how much you use from outside sources, but more than likely you'll have to redo the work. You'll be given perhaps a second opportunity to do the work for less, for points deduction for less grade, in other words. Okay, so avoid all of those hassles and instead just use the lecture material again to answer the exams. Okay, all right, and again, you're going to have about 3 to 5 days to complete those exams. This is something you do at home. You type everything in your computer, save it on a Word doc or PDF file, and upload it on Blackboard by the due date. That's, you're set. And then you continue watching the next round of videos and so on. That's pretty much, what we're going to be doing. Okay, on the exams. So, it's a writing assignment per se, okay, of sorts. I'll send you the instructions that's how to complete it, what kind of format you're supposed to use, and so on, to complete those exams. Okay, their take home, that is to say. Okay, there's also the possibility of extra credit assignments. There's a possibility for you to actually earn extra points. 10 extra points can be earned if you do one or more extra credit assignments. There are 3 extra credit assignments posted on Blackboard, and all the instructions are there. Even the articles that you have to read, they're there as well. You don't have to search for those anywhere. So I've actually gathered the article, posted the article on a folder. There's extra credit assignment number 1, 2, and 3, and everything is there. So if you want to add up to 10 points to your exam grade, because let's say the first exam, you got a 72 or 75, you're like, man, I will really want to earn the A in this course. And I really need to boost this grade, a whole letter grade, I'd make it an 85. Okay. So you do an extra credit assignment. If you do 3 extra credit assignments, you can add points towards the second exam and the final exam. Again, it's a very good way of actually improving and progressing. You're not stuck with the grades that you're getting because there's always room for increasing your grades. Again, if you do the work, that is to say. Okay. All right. So another piece of information, more technical here, is that before we get into the course assignment, is that students need to know that you have until September 6th to withdraw from this course without affecting your academic records. Okay, if you want your academic records free of hassles and problems. Well, you have until September 6th to withdraw from this course, because after September 6th, this course is going to remain in your records. And even if you did not turn in any assignment whatsoever, okay, I'm going to have to give you a grade at the end. Even though you never showed up, you never uploaded any document. It's almost like you didn't take the course, let's say. Well, I'm going to have to give you a grade. If you fail to drop, by the deadline, September 6th. So again, if you don't want your records to be affected by financial aid or, an F or whatever, try to withdraw before the due date. But I highly recommend that you just go through it, get it over with, and get it out of the way. In other words, it's a great opportunity to, earn college credit and, just fulfill one of the requirements for graduation. That is to say, okay, I highly recommend that you pretty much make every effort as possible to stay. Okay, at any rate, now the assignment. You might be asking, okay, so it's going to be an assignment here, a paper, report. Yeah, there's one assignment, only one, and it's a report. I call it the study questions report. I mentioned at the beginning, there's going to be a supplemental text that is going to be needed for this course to complete this assignment. And so why do you need this textbook is because the assignment that is due on November 24th is an assignment in which you're going to have to actually read 10 documents. Again, this is a collection of documents. I've selected 10. You're supposed to read 10 of those and answer a series of questions. Okay? Answer a series of questions. Now, the guidelines to go about completing this assignment are posted here on Blackboard, on the syllabus. Those are actually available under course assignments. I'm going to get there, just shortly. Okay? So if you want information about, okay, so how do I do this? Okay, this assignment, well, it tells you in the guidelines which chapter, which page number, the title of the document, and the specific questions that you're supposed to be answering. Those are the questions stated there. Okay? The expectation is that the answers for each document must be a page for each document. A page, double spaced. So let's say chapter 1, you read this document called Origin of Disease and Medicine. Okay? The Native American, actually, account. And it gives you like 2 or 3 questions about the document. So the answers you provide about that document must be a page, per document. So there's going to be 10 documents, which means 10 pages. At the very end, you're supposed to have 10 full pages worth of information you answer from each document. This is double spaced, and you're going to have to save it on Word or PDF file and upload it by the due date, November 24th, on Blackboard. Okay, so very simple, assignment, if you will. Okay, the grading for this course is 4 major grades: first, second, final exam, and study questions report, each 25%. Okay, of the final grade. Now, if you take into account the extra credit assignments, that's an extra, points you're going to be earning, a whole letter grade you can add to each of the exams. Okay, so you're not stuck with whatever grade you're getting. Again, it's very flexible, if you will. I'm willing to work with you if you do the work. And also, please keep in mind that at the end of the semester, when I'm calculating each grade, I do that on an individual basis. I go student by student, and I look at their grade distribution. And if I see progress from the first to the second to the final exam, in other words, you're improving your grades, you're going up. Say the first exam, 78, second exam, 85, final exam, 94, 95. It's like you submitted one or two extra credit assignments. But yet, in the end, you ended up with an 89, maybe an 88.75, let us just say. Okay. Well, if I see effort, if I see commitment, if I see progress, that you're really, really trying to improve yourself, I'm going to actually give you those extra points required for you to get the A. Okay. They're not automatic, not just because you made an 88 or 88.75 or 89, it's automatic an A. It's not like that. I have to see improvement. I have to see progress, and I have to see effort. Okay. And that is going to be compensated. Okay. I'm going to factor that in the equation at the very end. So I do that analysis individually again at the end of the semester. Just keep that in mind. So there's plenty of room for improvement in this course. All right. So just know that Labor Day is September 6th. There's no classes. There's Thanksgiving during November 26th, 25th, and 26th. Final exams are from December 3rd to the 9th again. And grades are due by December 12th. So by December 12th, that's it. I have to turn in grades. Okay, just keep that in mind. Okay. This is, again, at the very end, a tentative course schedule and assignments. This is, a place where you're going to find a timeline, so to speak. Okay. A timeline of a week-by-week organization. In other words, what kind of topics we're going to be covering each week. Okay, it tells you, okay, look, week 1, the syllabus, the class introduction. You're supposed to also be watching session 1 of the Native American topic. Week 2, continue with the Native American topic. By week 3, you're supposed to be going into the second topic on the European civilization, the discovery, and so on, so forth. Again, week by week is telling you which topics you're supposed to be covering. Okay, you're supposed to be watching, in other words, and when the exams are scheduled. By September 27th, I'm going to be sending out the instructions to you to do the first exam, and you're going to be given a few days to complete it. Again, the exam must be uploaded by early October or something like that, October 4th, I think. The second part, the colonial period, it tells you week by week which topics you're supposed to be watching. The video lectures, once we reach the sixth topic, the end of the sixth topic, we're going to actually just proceed to take the second exam. On November 1st, I'm going to be sending out instructions for you to complete the second exam. That has to be uploaded by the 5th, November 5th. And the same with the third part. The third part of the semester, likewise, looks at the national period. We look at 3 topics week by week, and tells you, look, by November 24th, you're supposed to be turning in the study questions report, and the final exam is going to be due by December 8th. Okay? It tells you, look, by December 8th, I must receive the final exams because I need time to grade them. So I have to turn in grades by the 12th, December 12th. So again, this is a tentative course schedule. If anything changes, you'll be notified, of course. Now, the last pages of the syllabus are reserved for resources, policies, and regulations. Okay, so it tells you about campus operations, communication policies, statement of academic integrity, course drops. If you need information about course drops, again, incompletes. Likewise, this is a place to actually know about the policies regarding incompletes, student rights and responsibilities, student complaints, Okay, use of testing centers, student support services, accessibility services as well. If you need accommodations, for example, where to go to request accommodations from the student accessibility services, academic support, okay, library services, um, student organizations, illness, and so on. Again, so again, it's very technical. I'm not here to read all of that to you. It's just for you to know that for all that technical information about policies, regulations, resources, that's the place to actually go in the syllabus and perhaps search for whatever you need, whatever kind of help or, assistance you need. Okay. So just one last thing here, just knowing where to identify, of course, the links to the course. As I mentioned, instructional materials. This is where you're going to find the recorded video lectures and the lecture outlines and questions. But underneath, you're going to find, of course, course assignments. Under course assignments, you click on it, and all of the assignments for this course are placed there. What are the instructions of the first exam? What are the instructions of the second exam? The final. What are the instructions of the study questions report? Okay. Where can I find the extra credit assignments? Okay. Where is it? Everything is under course assignments there. Okay. All the instructions are already there. You click on extra credit assignments. As I mentioned, there are 3 folders there. 3 folders with instructions and the articles that you need to read. Okay. Okay. Very important. The other question is, where am I supposed to submit those works? Where am I supposed to submit those exams and those assignments? Okay, I've created another section called Submit Work. Submit Work. Again, under Submit Work, you're going to find the links to the first, second, and final exams. You're going to upload them, in those links. And those are the upload tabs, in other words. The study questions report, this is where you upload it, and the extra credit assignments are uploaded here as well. All the extra credit assignments, if you do 1, 2, or 3, they have to be saved in a single file. The extra credits have to be in one file. If you do 3, well, the 3 have to be in the same Word doc. Save it and upload it under extra credits. Okay. It's very simple, again, to navigate. If you watch this video, after you watch this video, you're going to see that, how easy it is, to pretty much identify, everything you need to know to locate, the instruction, the assignments, and where you're supposed to upload, the work. Okay. So again, I hope this video presentation has been very helpful for you to understand, again, what the course is going to be about. One last thing I want to mention, again, that is pretty much, listed under the course description, just to close, is, that I very hopeful that you're going to find this material not only interesting, but also very helpful in terms of you understanding U.S. history, the formative, if you will, stages of the United States. We're looking at 1301, of course. What I've done is that the lecture that I have presented, in those 9 topics, you're going to be watching, of course, a series of videos, all pretty much organized around themes, 9 topics, is that all this information that I'm presenting to you is going to be presented from a global perspective. In other words, yes, it is U.S. history. We are talking about the United States, but we're placing the story of the United States in terms of what was really going on around the world. In other words, because the formation of the United States was not occurring in a vacuum. It was not occurring in total isolation from the rest of the world. The United States was formed out of the interaction of different civilizations. As a matter of fact, we just mentioned that. the Native American civilizations, the European civilizations, and the African civilizations, for example, just to name a few. Okay, there are different groups, different civilizations, different cultures that are coming together, having various kinds of relationships and interactions, if you will, with one another, that produce, of course, the formation of the United States. So it is important to learn about those civilizations. What are the civilizations of the Native Americans like? What is the civilizations of the Europeans? What was the civilization of Africa like? African culture and societies. So there's going to be plenty of data presented to you about the peoples of the world that came together to form the country. Okay, it's not just going to be talking about dates and names, for you to memorize those things, the events of the past, but pretty much to understand the people that made history. Where were they coming from? What were their backgrounds? What kind of religions they believed and practiced? For example, how did work? For example, how did they organize themselves? How did they create a community, and so on and so forth? Each in their own region, and so on. So as you move along the semester, you're gonna have like the sense that indeed you're taking U.S. history, but you're at the same time learning about world civilizations as well. Okay, that's what it means about the global perspective, that you're learning also about the peoples of the world, if you will, other cultures, other societies, other religions, and so on and so forth. Also, when I teach history from what is called a multidisciplinary perspective. So what is that? Multidisciplinary. That when I teach history, I just don't use history to tell the story of the past. I rely on other disciplines as well, like the discipline of anthropology, the discipline of sociology, the discipline of psychology, the discipline of religious studies, for example, in order to understand people. Because my idea is, it's not enough to memorize what happened in the past, but we have to understand people as fully as possible as to why they did what they did. Okay? So we have to get into their heads. We have to put ourselves in their shoes and see the world through their eyes, if you will, to really understand, what happened, in the past, to understand the people that made history. So in order to do that, it's important to rely on other fields, methods and theories from, let's say, anthropology. Anthropology, is the study of human beings, human cultures, for example. It studies things like religion and ceremonies and rituals, to understand, people in very general terms. So I rely on anthropology. I use anthropology to understand the religion, of the people that we study, whether we're talking about Native American peoples and their religious beliefs, their ceremonies, the gods that they pray to, the goddesses, and so on. All of that is going to be very rich. We're going to go into a lot of detail about rituals, for example. How did they perform those rituals? Why did they perform animal sacrifices, for example? Why was it important? What was in the blood when they spilled the blood of the animals? What was it important to spill the blood of the earth, and so on and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of specialized knowledge presented here about rituals and ceremonies and religious beliefs as well. In Europe as well, Christianity, we're going to get into the religion of Christianity as well, very fully as well. Okay, so this is why, I use other fields, to enrich our understanding of history, the understanding of the past, the use of psychology. I tend to psychoanalyze people, in the past. Psychology tells us that, look, in order to understand human beings and their behavior, we have to understand how people were brought up, because human beings are shaped by the environment. The way we grew up, our life experiences, whether they were good or bad or a mix, is going to shape the way we're going to see the world, how we're going to see others, and how we're going to actually behave in the world. Okay? So whenever it's necessary, whenever I find it necessary, what I do is that I use psychology I psychoanalyze people. For example, how people were brought up. Why is it that certain people were peaceful or certain people were warlike, for example? Okay. Well, we have to look at their setting, how people were shaped by their environment. Were people growing up in a time of conflict, for example, in which people had to be ready all the time for war and so on? So if you're growing up in that environment, this is going to shape the way you're going to see the world, of course. See, so again, if there are specific leaders that were important in the making of history, well, we have to analyze those historical actors, as well. How those leaders were brought up, how were they raised, what kind of religion was instilled upon them, by their parents and so on, because this is going to shape the way they're going to actually see life in general, So again, this is going to be a very rich history. Uh, and again, across the semester, I'm going to be placing, strong emphasis on the role of ideas, how ideas produce change whenever there's new knowledge, whenever there's new scientific discoveries. People change the way they live, because that knowledge is going to create new technologies, for example, new tools for survival, to do work, and so on and so forth. So society is reorganized every time people discover something new that is useful for survival. So again, the role of ideas, the role of technology, whenever people craft new tools, we see change and revolutions taking place in history. And also environmental history is also going to be explained here, how the environment is also important in understanding human history. uh, because human beings create their civilizations on specific environmental conditions. Okay, the kind of civilization that we have, comes from the environment that we live in. We build our societies from the natural resources, from the elements that we find in nature, like the water, the wood, for example, the minerals, the metals that we can find again on the environment. We craft our tools from those metals, from those resources, and we build a civilization. But whenever the environment changes and suddenly some of those resources are lacking or become absent, our whole civilization changes accordingly. So we're also going to take into account, again, the environment in our story. Again, this is going to be a fascinating journey. I promise you that you're going to learn, a lot about U.S. history, but also you're going to be stimulated intellectually, again, by all of the analysis, the ideas that I'll be presenting. Okay, so once again, this is U.S. History 1301. My name is Alfonso R. Lopez. I'll be your instructor this semester. This is all I have for you, and I'll see you then on the first video lecture on Native American history, culture, and religion. Okay, thank you.